Since its inception, Alliance Health has held tight to the principle that people can and do recover from behavioral health illnesses. To make this principle a reality, we are working to nurture a culture within our organization that is focused on and responsive to the individuals we serve. To do this requires a rethinking of people's capacity to recover, the services available to them, and the role of providers and community stakeholders in facilitating the recovery process. We must continue to take steps to ensure a common understanding of recovery among our providers and across the community at large. At Alliance, we're working towards a recovery-focused system of care, collaborating to provide an effective network of resources for community members and families experiencing emotional distress and disability-related needs, so they can heal, have hope for the future, and live personally meaningful lives. To this end, we're building a continuum of residential options that allow individuals to live as they choose, to experience the dignity of risk, and to have the independence and life experience all of us want. What follows is one of a series of 6 trainings that provide some basic tools needed to support the people we serve with the dignity and respect they deserve, to improve our communities by allowing them to experience all of their citizens' different gifts, and to enjoy inclusive neighborhoods that embrace the value of every member.
Words are important. The language we use and the stories we tell have great significance to all involved. They carry a sense of hope and possibility, or can be associated with a sense of pessimism and low expectations, both of which influence personal outcomes. Language and words do matter. If you give something a negative connotation, you're more likely to have a negative outcome. If you give something a positive connotation, you're more likely to have a favorable outcome. If you want to kill something, you call it a weed. If you want to care for something, you call it a flower. System of care principles tell us that we should use strength-based language when working with people. Language and words matter. Do put people first. Don't label. Do emphasize abilities. Don't emphasize limitations. Do support living independently. Don't assume they cannot live independently. Recovery-based language is language that emphasizes the person, not their diagnosis. Recognize the person's strengths and abilities. Promote hope and possibility. Help people identify their challenges, needs, and barriers as part of their experience rather than labeling them with weaknesses, problems, or deficits which imply that they are broken or their experience is abnormal. Here are some examples of person-first language. In a recovery model, you say needs, versus a medical model, you say deficits. A person with schizophrenia versus schizophrenic. Challenges versus afflicted with, suffers from, plagued by. In a recovery model, we say barriers. In a medical model, they say weaknesses. Recovery-based language encourages the use of words that promote recovery and put the person first and their diagnosis or circumstances last. Words that promote recovery include hope, optimism, success, abilities. Person-first language ensures that individuals are identified based on their personhood, not their patienthood.
So a recovery-oriented system of care, first there's about 18 elements that go into a recovery-oriented system of care. I won't try to tell you each one of them, but there's some key ones that I think are extremely important. One, that it's a system that's built on the foundation of hope. If you have a mental illness or a substance use disorder or intellectual and developmental disability and you've struggled with life, then there are times in your life when you feel absolutely hopeless, and that's not a great place to be. So we have to have a system that really is grounded in the fact that people can and do get better and do have the lives that they really want. Another one of the points is that it's really more of we talk about person-centered care here, And that's a great theory, but a recovery-oriented system of care takes it a little bit farther, and it becomes more of a person-driven care. And what the difference is if we bring somebody into a room and we listen to what they have to say, and then we tell them what they need to do to try to go get better and try to support them in that way. That's one way to do things. We really are putting them at the center of the plan. But in a person-driven system, we bring that same person into the room. We ask them what they want their life to look like, and then we find the supports and things that they need to be able to attain those goals in their life. And so it's them driving the process and not us, telling us what their life is like. A couple of the other things is it really is strength-based. We talk a lot here about disabilities, and we don't want to downplay the fact that disabilities are real and that we have to acknowledge those and deal with those up front. But people have many more strengths than they have disabilities. And so we want to focus on what they can do more so than what they can't do. And then the last thing that I'd really say about a recovery-oriented system of care is it's outcomes-driven. Where do we want to get out of it? What do we want to see happen in somebody's life, or what do they want to see happen in their life? And are we successful in doing that? So we really have to take a look at whether we have accomplished that or not.
Now let's look at the 4 recovery-oriented language contexts. You will notice that many of these overlap. First, let's take a look at context of value-driven outcomes. Does the language that we use support a context in which values drive outcomes? Does the process we use line up with those values? Here are examples where the ends do not justify the means. Is it okay to receive medication where you never again feel sad, anxious, frustrated in life, but are also unable to experience joy or care about anything in life? How could this be okay? Is it okay to have a person remain in a group home for years because it reduces hospitalizations, but that person does not have the freedom to eat what they want to eat, or go to the movies, or to visit a friend? When our language supports the context of value-driven outcomes, traditional positive outcome will naturally fall into place. When the outcome is value-driven and value-consistent, we are more likely to engage in sustained recovery behaviors, even when doing so is difficult. Traditional outcomes will fall into place. Next, the context of humanity. The diagnosis does not define an individual. A person is not anorexic. They are dealing with anorexia. Recovery-oriented system of care understands that symptoms and diagnoses are a normal part of being human, and that experiencing these things does not make someone different from other people. Humans are generally more comfortable, work better, more open to people who are like them. We are all the same in our humanity. Closely tied to the context of outcomes is the context of hope that includes the experiential knowing that regardless of what our mind tells us, we can engage behaviors that move us towards our chosen values. The function of language is to protect and equate safe with feel good. Unfortunately, despite all of our efforts and amazing technology, it is impossible to feel good all of the time. The context of hope supports sustained engagement in behaviors that work and gives meaning to the pain that sometimes accompanies these behaviors. And finally, the context of choice and control. When things are not going well or not working, it is often because we are trying to force how we or others want things done instead of valuing member choice. Words and sentences can automatically create a sense of control, and choice is not ours, even when being told otherwise. Life provides infinite reasons to or not to do something. People value choice over being told what they have to do. We are all trying to help our members accomplish their goals, not accomplish our agency's goals. We want to provide them with hope and choice. And remember, it's not what you say, but how you say it.